concept. So let's ask Sadhana Manik to speak on unwanted but needed in South Africa post-pandemic imaginations on Black immigrant entrepreneurs owning spaza shops.
Thanks very much, Jeff. So unlike Ibrahim, doesn't, I'm actually awaiting some kind of information from a colleague of mine who gave me an early Christmas gift, and I think she may have also given me COVID, but I'm awaiting the results from her test to know whether indeed I have contracted it from her. So that's how I'm going to start today's presentation. So my chapter is, as you can tell, unwanted but needed in South Africa. It deals with post-pandemic imaginations on Black immigrant entrepreneurs owning spaza shops. Now, spaza shops are a uniquely South African concept, and I just want to take some time to explain what a spaza shop is. So it's part of an informal sector in South Africa, and sorry, is that possibly that you cannot hear me?
No, we can hear you.
Hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought perhaps I had lost you there for a second. Okay, so spaza shops are the concept that relates to particularly township areas where you have a normal home, but part of the home is now converted in order to bring in an income. So the family will possibly sell groceries or fresh produce, etc. So this chapter deals specifically with African immigrant entrepreneurs that own these spaza shops. What I do is I try to imagine this policy environment and what the socioeconomic spaces of a post-pandemic South Africa would be for these immigrant small or micro business entrepreneurs that own these spaza shops. Of course, the reason I particularly focus on them is because they have been experienced pre-pandemic and even during the pandemic based on their status as immigrant entrepreneurs. Of course, the most important of which has been xenophobia. And again, in South Africa, the particular type of flavor, shall we say, to xenophobia has been Afrophobia. And Afrophobia, if I could explain that, is African on African violence. So in South Africa, which we have a very diverse population, but this level of violence has only been perpetrated by Africans towards other Africans. So it's the native indigenous population that has been violent towards immigrant entrepreneurs. So I look at this so-called purging of South Africa of African immigrants. And this is actually very strange because South Africa has committed itself to free movement within the African Union. I here then trace the realities of the landscape pre-COVID-19 and during the pandemic before I offer up three imaginations and possibilities for the future of these spaza shop owners. I wish I could be as optimistic as Daniel. I do offer three imaginations that extend from positive to negative and one that where the status quo remains. However, recently what we've been seeing in South Africa is a resurgence of Afrophobia. In my own city of Durban, the African National Congress, the Veterans Department particularly, went on a walkabout in the city center and put an end to all removal and asked for them to go back home. So unfortunately, Daniel, I can't be as positive as you are, but I do in this chapter offer three possibilities, and I'm hoping that South Africa opens itself to this array of possibilities to look at the securitization policies that are in place, to re-look and visit the political utterances and practices even some of the socioeconomic events of past and present, and some of these immigrants' experiences, and look in and hone in on these auras that have been present, particularly the auras around eradication of immigrants and seeing them as vermin, and move away from this very strong anti-immigrant discourse that has started to pervade, become almost normal in everyday life in South Africa. And so what I do then is focus a lot on this pandemic purging and plundering of the spaza shops during COVID-19 and before. I'd like to stop there at this point in time. I don't want to chase a time frame like everybody else has, and I'll possibly allow for a little more discussion. Just to say that spaza shop owners are indeed the lifeblood of townships, and of course 70 to 80% of spaza shop owners that are African immigrant entrepreneurs. So if that has to close off and they've got to return homes, then immediately that's going to have an impact on the economy of South Africa. So it's a lot to take in, a lot to think about in this chapter as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadhana. Interesting.